Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, friend. Welcome back to the Blogger Genius Podcast. I'm Jillian Leslie, host of the podcast, founder of the MiloTree app, Catch My Party, business coach, and as I like to call myself, business translator. I take what's working in online business and blogging today, break it down so you can use these strategies in your own business. Okay, before I get started with today's episode, I want to invite you to join my Facebook group. It is the Share and Grow Your Blog Traffic group. If you go to Facebook and you search for Blogger Genius, you will see it show up. And it is a place where we all share links to our blog, links to our social media accounts, ask questions, share about our process. It's a really wonderful community and it will help grow your business. So please head to Facebook, search for Blogger Genius. You'll find the group. I've shortened the name to Share and Grow Your Blog Traffic. So come on over and join. For today's episode, I have Morgan Nield on the show, and she is an Etsy expert. One of the tips I shared for growing your business and your blog in 2021 is to sell something. And I say the first platform I would start selling on is Etsy because there is a built-in audience already on the platform, all ready to buy your products. Morgan breaks it down. She talks about how to come up with ideas for products, how to set up your Etsy account, and how you don't have to do things perfectly. It is an iterative process. If you listen to my podcast, you hear me say this over and over again. It is really about starting. It is about testing. It is about learning, and it is about trying again. And I think you're going to find this episode really useful if you are thinking of starting an Etsy shop, if you already have an Etsy shop, or if you are just starting to ideate on what to sell in your business. So without further delay, here is my interview with Morgan Nield. Morgan, welcome to the show.
I am so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I was saying to you before I pressed record that it was actually David, my husband, who found you. We are big fans of people starting Etsy shops. He was doing some Google searching and discovered you, and he said to me, reach out to her and ask her to come on your podcast.
Well, I'm so glad he found me online because I'm super excited to be here.
So will you share how you got started selling on Etsy and then how your entrepreneurial journey has changed or pivoted since then?
Yeah, absolutely. So like most people, I think we always think success is a straight line, and it's totally not a straight line. And my story is not a straight line at all. All the curves, all the loops, all the craziness. I actually started selling on Etsy because I had a mental breakdown, which is kind of crazy. So I gave birth to a baby girl in 2013, my first child, and I didn't do well. So I got diagnosed about 2 weeks in, 2 weeks postpartum, got diagnosed with postpartum depression, anxiety, and a little bit of postpartum psychosis as well. It was a completely surreal, awful experience.
Had you ever had anything like this before?
No, I had a very just normal healthy childhood growing up experience. And I had this daughter, and my world completely collapsed 2 weeks later. Like I was fine the first 2 weeks, and then it was like a light switch just flipped.
And healthy pregnancy?
Healthy pregnancy, textbook pregnancy. They probably wrote the textbook on pregnancy based off of my pregnancy. It was 100% normal, nothing out of the ordinary. And 2 weeks postpartum, something completely switched, and I just fell into this deep pit of despair, which was kind of crazy. And we didn't know what was going on because nobody in my family had struggled with anything like this before. And I wasn't even aware either of what was actually going on. I thought this is new mom, like this is new motherhood. And when they diagnosed me with postpartum depression, anxiety, things kind of started to make a little bit more sense. Like, hey, this isn't normal. This isn't how it's always going to be, but this is how it is right now. And so how can I actually cope with what I'm experiencing right now? And I didn't always have that clarity of thought every single day. Like it depended, but if it was a good day, I could have that clarity that this isn't how it's always going to be. And so I actually, as a way to cope, I'd worked as a busy events manager prior to giving birth to my daughter. And I was going to stay home with her and be a stay-at-home mom, partially because I could not return to work in the state I was in, but also because I've been raised by a stay-at-home mom. It was kind of one of those values that we personally had as a family. And so I wanted to be the one that was raising my daughter. And so I turned in my notice to quit my job. And then I said, okay, this is it. This is my life. I'm going to be a mom. And I found that it was really empty for me. I found I wasn't a natural fit for motherhood. Some people are such natural fits for motherhood. I was the textbook pregnancy girl. I was not the textbook motherhood girl. And so it was a big adjustment for me. And then dealing with the postpartum depression and anxiety with that, it just was a really hard transition. And so I turned to create it like a creative outlet to help me cope. And I decided,
Can I just pause you for 1 second? I think this is so interesting that you are the third woman I have interviewed on my podcast who has suffered from severe postpartum depression, anxiety, whatever, and how that set them up for these enormous life shifts.
Oh yeah.
And how it rewrote everything about their lives. And I didn't suffer from postpartum depression, although I was nuts after my daughter was born with the sleep deprivation, but it completely shifted my whole career trajectory. I was a writer in Hollywood, and all of a sudden I found it to be so hollow, like a switch went off in me, going, what am I doing? I have this job and it's supposed to be so glamorous and it doesn't feel glamorous. And I have a more important job. I'm Lainey's mom now, and I couldn't rectify this. So it's so interesting that so many entrepreneurs that I'm talking to have something like this come, and then they kind of shift, and it can take a while. Like, how long did it take you to start to come out of this?
I struggled with postpartum depression and anxiety for actually about 18 months, which is an excessively long time. And that's not a normal amount of time. But we were in a position where we did not actually have medical insurance at the time because I'd been the breadwinner and I had to quit my job. My husband was in school. And so we weren't able to get me the help that I needed psychologically, in terms of also just medicinally. And so I struggled with it for quite some time. And I actually turned to opening an Etsy shop, this creative outlet. I decided, hey, I'm going to open an Etsy shop. This is going to be a good distraction for me. It's going to allow me to have something outside of motherhood that is going to fulfill me, hopefully, with purpose. Like, I didn't know, but that's what I felt. I felt in my heart that that was what I was supposed to do. And so I opened up my Etsy shop. I made $1,200 my first month, which was crazy to me. And I realized, hey, I'm onto something. And so I just started working on it. I created baby headbands of all things. The idea was, oh, my daughter can wear these gorgeous headbands. My daughter was born with 3-inch long black hair. The headbands just flew right off her head. They did not stay at all. They just slid right off every single time. So she never actually wore my products, but I did create this product with her in mind. And I sold baby headbands on Etsy, and we earned over $100,000 our first year, and just grew that into over a $500,000 business over the next 3 to 4 years. So it just went crazy.
Were you creative before this? Like, did you know your way around a sewing machine?
So I'm actually not much of a seamstress at all, which is proof that you don't have to be the best in your craft to make a successful business. So often I think we compare ourselves to these experts. They're so good, I can never be like them. Awesome. I can never be like my mom, who's an amazing seamstress, but I can figure out my way around a sewing machine. I can figure out needle and how to thread a needle. I can do this. And I'm not the best seamstress. I'm still not the best seamstress after sewing a bajillion and a half headbands, but I made it work. And I didn't use that as an excuse to hold me back.
Did your husband come home to work with you?
So he was working, he was a student, he was a full-time student. And so he would help me a little bit when I was getting overly stressed. One thing about postpartum depression, anxiety, just because I had this side hustle that was distracting me, it didn't take it away completely. And there were still really, really bad days. There were good days too. Like, it just depended on, where I was emotionally. And so, yes, I had the support of my husband. We actually moved down closer to be near my parents to actually have the support of my parents as well. And they helped me run the business as well.
And was
So
it just you making headbands?
it started out as just me, and then I ended up hiring other stay-at-home moms in my area. I moved kind of back to my hometown, so I knew a lot of the women here that were my age, and they were looking for ways to supplement their family income. And I was like, hey, I've got this product. I can't make all this product. If you want, if you want to work from home while your baby naps or whatever, like I would love your help. So yeah, it was a really great opportunity, and it was a way to really just like connect with others as well, and make motherhood not so much of a lonely, isolated job for myself.
I would say that I found, again, having a young child to be like earth shattering because it changed my life so dramatically, but
Mm-hmm.
also so lonely. And I've talked about
Oh,
this with other mothers on the podcast, that it's this weird balance of uh, e- kind of magic and despair.
yeah. Oh, that's a fantastic way to put it. Like it's the loneliest job you'll ever have, but it's the best job you'll ever have.
Right.
It's just so conflicting. But yeah, it is a lonely business for sure.
And have you had other children?
I actually did. So I had a surprise pregnancy 5 years later with my son. And that was terrifying. I spent 9 months crying and puking. I actually got diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum. And so I spent a lot of time hooked up to an IV in the hospital over the course of the full 9 months. And he came out and I had no postpartum depression. So I guess I paid my dues up front with him, but we were also better equipped to deal with it emotionally. And we had the resources and the finances in place to take care of that, getting me the medical care that I needed afterwards in case things went south again. So I paid my dues up front with him, but it was a wonderful experience with my second child.
Oh,
So,
that's great news. Now
mhm.
let's talk about how you discovered this business of helping people set up Etsy shops. And do you
Yeah.
still have your original business on Etsy?
So I actually do not have my business right now. So when I got pregnant with my second child, my son, I had hyperemesis gravidarum, which is the Princess Kate disease, if you follow her at all. And it basically just means that you puke a whole lot over 9 months, multiple times a day, every single day. And I was running this my Etsy shop, Lil Hybria. I was still doing about 30 to 40 orders, like sets per day of orders for headbands. And I'd been getting a lot of messages from people asking, hey, I see that you are pretty successful on Etsy. Like, would you care to share some secrets or some tips? I'm just getting started. And I found that I really love to spend time answering those questions. Like, I would write whole novels and I'm like, well, that wasn't a good use of my time. I should have been filling orders, but I was so excited to share what I'd learned about selling on the platform. And so when I got pregnant with my son, I had already started this kind of side business called, it was Nield.com. And I was teaching people, instead of like answering every conversation individually, I was like, what if I create resources that I could just refer people to? Hey, here's how I did this. Here's how I did this. Here's how I hired people. Here's how I ship my products and all that stuff. The most commonly asked questions that I was receiving. And so I created this business, Nield.com. And I created a marketing course that went with it called Mastermind Your Marketing, which I still sell today. And I found that while I was trying to juggle these two businesses in the bathroom at our house while I was puking a whole bunch while I was pregnant, I realized I couldn't do both. I would like to pretend that I'm superwoman and super mom, but I absolutely wasn't. I also had a 4 or 5 year old daughter, 4 or 5, around that age, that I was chasing around the house full time, basically. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to have to stop one or the other. And I felt like I was making more of an impact helping women learn how to create these creative businesses and get these products up to sell and bringing in an income to their family, as opposed to just shipping out baby headbands, which was a fantastic business model, but I didn't feel like I was making as much of an impact. And so I really dove into Nield.com at that point, and that's when I decided I'm going to help women, especially moms, because those are the people that I relate to the most, teach them how to build businesses that actually support their lifestyle and not the other way around. And so that's kind of where I am today, is teaching women how to market their businesses, how to grow these creative businesses that fill them up, that give them that additional, human connection and that creative fulfillment that they're missing, because motherhood is fantastic, but there are elements beyond that we crave and we miss and we yearn for. And it's just been so fulfilling just watching these women create these amazing, incredible lifestyles for themselves, and that provide additional income to their family and help them feel like they're living their best versions of
One thing that I
themselves.
really like about what you just said, and for anybody listening, if you start getting questions from people about how you've done what you've done, I have a podcast that is going live today about tips for the end of the year, how to think about 2021. And my first tip is believe in abundance. Believe that if people are asking you questions, that you can share your tips and your secrets and the things that have worked for you, because it doesn't mean that if you share them, all of a sudden it's going to stop working for you. And I love that you put together, you noticed people were asking probably the same questions over and over again. So you parked those answers somewhere so that you could refer people to those answers. And then boom, your second business is starting to grow. And I'm a big believer in emergent business building, which means things emerge and you don't plan them. But if you listen and if you're helpful, all of a sudden you can find these patterns and these problems that people are having. And you can start helping them. And who knows, over time, that can turn into an entirely different business. Now, it's related to your first business, but just by you wanting to be helpful, you are able to, and having this experience that a lot of women didn't have, of you had success on Etsy and you had crossed this bridge to success, and you were able to then go back over the bridge, grab their hand and help lead them across that bridge.
Yeah,
so in your own business, be thinking, are people reaching out to you, and how can you be generous and believe in abundance and help others? And who knows, it could turn into a very lucrative business.
Yeah, always err on the side of generosity. Like, hands down, that's some of the best advice that I've ever been given, is always be more generous than, that's horrible. Cut that out. Always be as generous as you possibly can be. And people will recognize that, and people will appreciate you for that. And that's when so many doors and so many windows of opportunity open up for you.
So let's talk about building something on Etsy. I coach bloggers. I have this podcast. I talk to bloggers all the time, and online entrepreneurs and creative entrepreneurs. And one thing that I teach is coming up with products. You will not get rich selling ads on your blog. The people who I know who are very successful sell products. Now, this could be physical goods, it could be downloadables, it could be courses, it could be memberships, it could be coaching, it could have a variety of permutations. But finding some expertise, some problem you can solve, I think is always the direction you want to move in. And the direction could be solving the problem of, I want people to know my daughter is a daughter and she has no hair and she needs, right? She needs this, so people don't go, what a cute baby. What is it? So that's like, and also you want an easy way to dress up your baby, and you can put a headband on and boom, you've solved it. So you were solving a problem that people, or something that people wanted for their babies. So given what I preach, what is your take about that, and how can Etsy play a role in that for people to discover products to sell?
Yeah, so this is actually like this huge mistake that I see a lot of Etsy sellers make. We're told by people, if we are creatives, which I'm not a typical creative. I don't feel like I'm as creative as so many of my friends, but I have a little bit of creativity in me, and I'll create something and maybe give it as a gift to a friend. And someone's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. You should sell that on Etsy. And that's where we kind of get that idea, like, oh, okay, well, I could create this product line and I could sell it on Etsy, and that's great. But just like what you said, it's so important to make sure that that product is actually solving a problem before we put all this work and effort. Just because we love creating it doesn't mean that it is sellable. So you'll see these little like kind of popsicle stick crafts on Etsy, and you're like, what is that? Why would anybody buy that? And maybe that's fine, and that's their creative fulfillment, and that's awesome for that person. But if there's no market for the actual product, it's going to be really hard to build a business around that. And so it's so, so important to keep in mind that the product that you create isn't for you. It's not about you anymore. When you are creating a product to sell, it becomes about your customers. Okay. It's not about you anymore. And we need to make sure that you are asking yourself, what does exactly what you said, what does this product solve? Like, how can it improve and change their lives? And it doesn't have to solve world hunger, it doesn't have to bring world peace, nothing like that. It is exactly what you said. I'm just helping moms get their baby dressed up and looking great and out the door so they feel a little bit more put together and on an already crazy day that they've got planned. And it's not solving anything crazy. It sounds frivolous to some extent, but it is providing that benefit, that solution to that mom, and kind of giving her that quick win so she feels good about her day.
So,
And
so let's say I'm creative and I can make a variety of things. Let's say I know my way around a sewing machine and I want to come up with a product. What is your recommendation for how I can quickly find what I call product market fit? I've got a product, there is actually a market there, and I can sell this. How do I test this? What do I do?
Yeah, so one of the best things that I recommend doing is getting it down on paper. So that's kind of my process. And I am very list oriented, Gilmore Girls, Rory Gilmore, pro and con list type of person. But I like to get things down on paper. Whenever I have ideas in my head, it's really easy for the ideas to just spin around and around and around. And I never actually make progress and I get overwhelmed and there's too much going on. Getting everything down on paper. Okay, I know my way around a sewing machine. Well, I could create purses, I could create tops, I could create, all these different like wallets and
pillows.
Pillows. I'm obviously not a seamstress because I'm really having a hard time thinking of all these things. Headbands, there you go, baby headbands. Okay, so there's all these different ideas that I have, and just getting them down on paper is one of the first important steps. Like, just get everything in your brain out, because that's going to give you the clarity. As you are looking at these items and making that decision, you're going to have just a lot more room for clarity in your brain. So getting them all down on paper. And then I like to stalk the competition and kind of see what's out there. So I like to do my market research. And this is really an important step, but it's a step that you have to be careful, because you don't want to get stuck in the research and development phase where you never actually take action. And it's tempting, like, oh, I'm working on my business, I'm researching competitors. Yeah, but you've been doing it for 3 weeks now. Like, move on.
Right.
And so one of those, you just have to make sure that you don't dive too far into the rabbit hole with, but give yourself a day or two to just check out the competition, see what other people are selling, and then take your list. What are you most excited about? Okay. And if there proves to be some sort of market for it, you've seen other people selling similar items. Okay. That's market validation. That's instant market validation. So it's often we think we have to create this completely unique product, which is great, but you're also going to have to create the market awareness for it, because nobody knows this completely unique product exists. And so if you're trying to get something up quick and dirty style, the best thing you can do is find a product that is already selling, that there's already a market for on Etsy or whatever platform you're using, and then dive into that. And then if you're like, well, how do I actually make sure that the product, okay, the product's validated, people are selling it, they're making sales, people want to buy this, but how do I actually stand out if I'm creating the same thing? And that's where you find that unique selling proposition. What about your product is unique? What sets you apart from the competition? It doesn't have to be life shattering. It could be you sell different, you create your own, design your own fabrics for your products, or maybe you have a quicker turnaround time, or maybe you donate, 20% of proceeds to this nonprofit organization. There's so many different aspects, but you have to have something that makes you different.
Okay. And when I'm doing research, I know that sellers sometimes have that stat under their products that tells you how many of these they've sold. I know you can turn it off, but you will see that, oh, wow, this fabric wallet, so this woman sold 2,000 of these. Do you look at numbers like that for validation?
Yeah, no, I think absolutely looking at numbers is one of the best business strategies, like, to implement early on, especially, but you're going to be implementing that throughout your entire business strategy. Numbers are the base, like that, those are the facts of your business. And those are where you're going to see the actual, like, it's not about your opinion anymore. It's an actual fact that this is true. She sold 2,000 wallets. What can I do with that factual information? And so I think it's absolutely fantastic to look at those numbers and kind of get a base of what's actually possible for you.
Do you look on Pinterest? Do you look elsewhere? to see?
Yeah, I love Pinterest for market research, especially anticipating upcoming trends. That was one of my biggest strategies with my baby headbands. I created and designed my own fabrics, which was really fun, very fulfilling. And one of my favorite things to do was to hop on Pinterest, figure out what trends were up and coming, and then incorporate those trends into my pattern designs. And that helped my sales significantly, just jumping kind of on the trend bandwagon, staying true to who I was as a creative. I wanted to create these baby headbands. I wanted to design my own fabrics, but hey, I see that these patterns are up and coming. Let's incorporate them into my designs. And that was another way to really like validate my product. Like, hey, I know what designs people are going to be interested in a few months, using Pinterest as a tool to research that. And I can incorporate them into my shop and see results, like, because it's already been proven. And it's just, that's like, there's so much that you can do inside your head, and you can guess like, hey, I want to try this, or maybe this is a good idea or whatever. But when you can do the research and see those numbers and see those trends that Pinterest is projecting, those are like the smartest way to make business decisions, because you actually have evidence moving forward. And it's not just strictly guesswork. I'm going to put this out there and hope it works. You've got some evidence that, hey, this is going to work. Hey, these numbers don't lie, kind of thing.
Absolutely. And what you had said previously about you don't want to think you're going to create a trend. Ride waves.
Yes.
It's Christmas. So what is coming up? What do you know that, what people are looking for at Christmas? What about February? It's Valentine's Day. So how can you lean into where people already are? Which leads me to one of my questions about Etsy, the idea that you have a built-in audience on Etsy of shoppers versus, let's say, starting a business on Shopify or creating a WooCommerce store for your blog. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so I absolutely recommend, especially because as creatives, a lot of us don't feel super tech savvy, or at least me. I still feel like I'm in tech 1999. Like some days I'm blown away by all the technology out there, and it just overwhelms me. When it comes to selling on Etsy, it is extremely easy. So there is that built-in audience. There's so many benefits to selling into Etsy. There's that built-in audience, meaning there are already people going on Etsy to shop for unique products. So there are already people coming to your site, essentially your Etsy shop, because they are looking for something unique. That is perfect, primed, ready to buy audience that you want to tap into. It's easy to set up as well. One thing we think, I need a Shopify site or WooCommerce or any sort of standalone site. It is incredibly difficult to get those set up, and to get those set up in a way that actually converts people, like casual browsers, into paying customers, because Etsy is already set up. They run tests all day, every day, making sure things are as optimized as possible. Hey, let's change the color of this button. Hey, let's move this around. Just whatever. They're constantly running tests to optimize your shop to make more sales. Like, they're on your team. They are doing everything in their power because you make more sales, right? And they benefit from that as well. So they are kind of doing that behind the scenes conversion research as well, that you're going to be able to take advantage of, because your best interests are their best interests as well. And so it's really easy to set up. You're not having to code anything. You're not having to start from scratch. They literally give you fill in the blank prompts, like, what's the name of this product? Where was it created? What colors do you use on it? Like, all these different prompts that you just fill in the blanks, and boom, your listing is populated on Etsy. And so it's very, very simple to get started. Like, you could get everything set up and ready to go in an afternoon, as long as you already had the products, you knew what products you're going to sell. You can have everything up in an afternoon. You could be making sales the next morning. Like, it's really fast. It's obviously not that straightforward making, sales. You don't just wake up to them naturally, but you can get everything set up and ready to go in an afternoon, so that you are ready to dive into that, the marketing tactics for making those sales the next day.
And what I would say, when you have an Etsy shop, you need to create product, optimize your listings, and market it and we'll talk about that. But if you decide I'm going to start with Shopify, you have to set up you have to deal with the back end. It's like setting up a new blog, but you have to drive traffic to that Shopify store. So you would need to spend so much time just getting people to your store. And if you do the math, if you have a 2% conversion rate, that's considered good in terms of sales, which means for every 100 people I drive to my Shopify store, I'm getting 2 sales. So I need to drive thousands and thousands of people to my store. And then if I have to step up and pay for that traffic, that becomes very expensive. And I know that people go, yeah, but Etsy has all these fees and Etsy will force me to advertise and Etsy will take all my money and I want my money. So therefore I want to own my store and I want a WooCommerce store or a Shopify store. And I want to say, think of that money that you are giving to Etsy as marketing dollars that you would have to spend on your other store that you own because you need to get people to it to create sales.
I absolutely agree with that. It's so tempting to think we need to do everything the way in our head it sounds like it would be perfect. It would be perfect if I had my own shop. It'd be perfect. It was this and that and the other. But if that's going to hold you back from getting started, because first off, it's a heck of a lot more work to get that kind of stuff set up and driving 100% of your own traffic. Nobody is going to be sending you traffic. No one. It's just so much more work. You don't have to be perfect right out of the gate. There is time for that later. You can absolutely open a Shopify site, but if your goal is to get started, get your hands and get understanding marketing and how your product fits into the market and how to actually sell your product, Etsy is like the no-brainer approach because you can get everything set up in an afternoon and then you can start to build off of that right there, as opposed to months and months and months of Shopify development for a site that maybe isn't designed to actually convert into sales. Looking at those fees, I mean, there's fees associated with Shopify. There's fees associated with everything. It's so much easier to just go with Etsy. And yeah, they are going to take a little bit of a profit because they're a business as well. But Shopify is going to, your credit card processors are going to take a bit of a profit. Your Shopify website is going to take a bit of a profit. And so it's really just determining the quickest and most effective way for you to get started and not just to sit there twiddling your thumbs and not taking action.
I teach this concept called B- work, which is, by the way, B-, it's above average.
Yeah.
But it's not A+ work. So B- work enables you to move and move quickly and iterate. The idea is I put up a rough draft. Normally in school, we didn't want to show our rough draft until it was perfect. And I say on the internet, show your rough draft because you're co-creating with your visitors, your customers, your users. So let's say you create a baby headband and it's in leopard print and somebody messages you and says, I don't want leopard print, I want polka dots. And you go, polka dots, I hadn't thought of that. And somebody else says, yeah, I like polka dots or whatever it is. And all of a sudden you put something out there and you're going to get feedback to be able to pivot and figure out what the market is looking for and how, again, to better create product market fit. Somebody we coach reached out to me today and had this great idea and said, I'm going to come up with 52 kind of prompts for the year. And I said, I think that is a fantastic idea. However, let's start with 5. You don't need to do 52. In fact, I don't want you to be thinking that you're going to be doing 52 because you're going to do 5 and you're going to see, how does that work? How does it work for me and my process? How does my audience respond to it? I'm going to stay nimble and flexible. And I said, and I want you to do B- work because I want you to get those 5 up. And then you can step back and learn and figure it out and tweak and pivot. And I think that Etsy gives you so much flexibility to learn so that you're not trying to get the A+ on the term paper, but you're willing to kind of show a little bit more, something that's a little rougher, but is still above average work. I'm not saying go put crap up. I'm saying do the work, but publish before you're ready. Put the product up before you think it's ready. Because just what you were saying, it's so easy to go, I'm doing market research. And it's 3 years later. And in your head, you have this beautiful business built out, but you have no business.
And nobody knows about it. Yeah. You cannot get results from an idea. You have to actually put in the work.
Let's talk then about the second piece. You're saying I could get my site up in an afternoon. How many products could I get up? let's say in an
So
afternoon?
that is such a great point, because there's like this myth floating around out there that I want to bust right now. This myth that in order to make it big, like to make it work on Etsy, you have to have 100 products in your shop. Like there's this myth. And so just like you said, people are like, oh, I'm going to create 52 prompts. I'm going to create 100 products before I really learn how to do anything else, because I need to get that 100 number. And that's not true. First off, like you said, co-creating is such an important part of the process. When I started my Etsy shop, I had 10 products in my shop, 10 baby headbands. And I was selling these 10 like here and there. And I started getting messages, just like you said, from my audience saying, hey, I'd like to see this pattern. Or, hey, can I get a discount if I buy a group of 3? And I was like, okay, so $10 for one headband, or I could charge, $28. They could save $2 for a set of 3. And so I started listing these sets of 3, and they sold like crazy. I was selling more sets of 3 than I was individual headbands.
But you didn't have that idea.
I didn't have that idea. Like I could have gone ahead and tried to list 100 unique individual headbands, but this idea came when I just had 10 products in my shop, and I was like, so my next 10 products were sets of 3. And then someone's like, I like this set, but could I swap out this headband for this? And I like maybe this headband, but I'd like to add in these 2 as well. And suddenly I was creating this mix and match listing that was pick whatever styles you want. And that became my best seller hands down. And I never would have had that idea on my own. Having your audience help you to build your business is like the most cost efficient and most effective way to build your business from the get-go. Like it's just, you think you have to have it all figured out before, but just like you said, you don't. You just have to get it out there, and it will start to figure itself out as you go.
If you're listening.
Exactly. Yeah, you cannot be resistant to these ideas that are being presented to you. These ideas that are being presented to you are like clear indicators. Like you could not ask for better market research from what your customers want. They are telling you what they want. It is your job to listen to that and make it happen for them.
I wanted to take a short break to talk about Etsy and MiloTree. I don't know if you know this, but we offer an Etsy pop-up. What that means is if you have a blog in an Etsy shop, you install this pop-up on your blog. It's populated with your Etsy products, and it has a button that says Shop Now, so you can lead your blog visitors directly to your Etsy shop. Head to MiloTree.com, sign up in 2 minutes, get your first 30 days free, and this way you can more tightly integrate your blog and your Etsy shop. And now, back to the show. So I spend my afternoon and I get 10 products up.
Yep.
And I'm going to go test this. And now you talked about the second piece, which is marketing.
So regarding marketing, that's like another big kind of a mindset shift we need to make as we are creating products and uploading them to our Etsy shop, is that we think that we want to create this Etsy shop because we want to be creatively fulfilled and we want to spend all our time creating these incredible products and things like that we spend 90% of our time in this creation and this research and development phase. And then we're like, oh, I probably need to market it. And so it's just like 10%, like kind of the afterthought of our time. Oh, I should post on Instagram, or I should maybe pin that to Pinterest. And we just spend this like the afterthought, our leftover time on marketing, and it should totally be reversed. We need to be spending, as much as 90% of our time marketing our products and 10% in that creation phase. And if you have built up and you've got those 10 initial products up in your shop, that creation phase is going to come really easy for you because you already know what your customers want. You're not going to be spending so much time there. You're going to have more time to market your shop. So regarding like where should you market though, so that's another problem that I do see a lot of Etsy sellers make is if you Google like, how do I make sales on Etsy? The top answers you will get are Etsy SEO, search engine optimization, and you will also see social media. And those are 2 of the slowest ways to actually grow your sales on your Etsy shop. Now, I'm not saying they're not important, but I am saying if you bank 100% of your marketing energy on that, you're not going to see the growth or the results you're looking for because they're not the best, the most effective marketing strategies out there. So when you hear different people doing different types of marketing strategies and you're like, well, like there's so many different ideas, like where do I even start with that? Let's start with SEO. And that's something I do recommend because it's a foundational strategy, but it's not the entire strategy. And that's kind of that mindset shift you need to make, that you can focus on your SEO, but if you're focusing on your SEO 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, and you're still focused on that, you are missing out on so much sales potential because it's not the fastest or most efficient way to grow your Etsy shop. You set it up, it works for you in the background, and you focus on more like on higher return on investment activities, that higher ROI. Social media is kind of where we go next. Okay, well, I've got my SEO. I'm going to go on social media and post my stuff on Instagram. And social media can be a fantastic complement to your business, but it's not actually designed for sales conversions. Now, that doesn't mean you can't make a sale from Instagram here and there, but the effort that you put into it is not going to come back to you, 10 times over. We want to focus on platforms that are actually designed and where people are expecting to be sold to. Social media is not the most effective sales conversion strategy out there, platform out there. Because when people go to social media, they're doing the mindless scrolling, right? And they're doing it because they want to feel inspired, they want to get ideas, they want to look at pretty things, which is fine. And so it can be a great compliment to your business, but they're not hopping on Instagram at 2 a.m. when they're, feeding their daughter in the middle of the night to purchase something. Like, that's not where their mind is. They're going to kind of be entertained and inspired and just have something to look at. What I recommend instead, actually, is to be focusing your efforts on email marketing. And that's like one of those big scary tech things. Like, everybody's like, oh, I can't do email marketing. I can't set up the tech for that. I can't possibly say things to my people. Like, what will I even say to them? And it's like one of those things that we always hear that we should do. And so we're like, okay, I'll put it on the back burner. Like, it's on my mind and I'll get to it. And then we never do. But email marketing is like actually the most effective marketing strategy for your business out there. And when you really tap into that market and into email marketing, people open emails expecting to be sold to some extent. You're not just going to be selling to them with emails, but when people open up emails, they understand that sales messaging and marketing messaging comes through a lot more frequently there. And that's where they're going to make that decision to visit your shop and actually purchase. And so email marketing is one of the absolute best ways to market your business, because not only is it actually designed to make you sales, but it's actually a way where you can gather their information and can continue to market to them in the future. So if you've ever heard the term like the fortune is in the follow-up, that is like especially critical here. We don't want people to just pop into our shop and then leave and never visit us again. We want them to join our email list, so we have that email address and we can continue to like pop into their inbox and remind them that, hey, I'm here, I have this product, it's going to solve this problem, like we talked about earlier. It's going to solve some small little problem or big problem, however your product is, and I'm ready to help you when you're ready to pop in.
Now, here's my question. Do I need a blog then as the hub of my business so that my email marketing is sending people to my blog for more information or to grow my list? Does a blog fit into this strategy?
Absolutely. So I am a big fan of content marketing or blogging for the simple fact that your Etsy shop should not be your only online platform. Like, that should not be the only place that customers can go to find you. Etsy, while it's super easy to set up, is extremely limited in some of the features that they have. You can't have a blog attached. You can't have all like about me pages and opt-ins and all these fantastic things to get people on your email list. And so I always recommend people set up just a simple site, a simple blog off of Etsy that's still their brand name, which they can use kind of as the central hub for people to learn about their business, to learn about them as the business owner, to learn about maybe their product creation, step by step, this is how we do it, the behind the scenes look, educating them if it's a product that, like, if you're selling some sort of, like editable templates or something. Okay, well, here's a tech video on how to actually edit those templates. Become a resource for people. And it's just an additional way to create those touch points with your audience, that you are, you've got this resource. Maybe somebody stumbled upon you from Pinterest on like an actual blog post. They didn't even realize you had a product to sell. Oh, but you've got this site. You're saying, hey, you know what? Here's this helpful information. Guess what? I also sell this product. And suddenly they're popping into your shop. And it's just another way to get people into your shop that is just really effective, because it's not like a social media post that disappears in 2 hours. It's content that stays there that can be found for years to come. And so it's just another really good use of your time in terms of marketing.
Absolutely. Now, if setting up a blog is intimidating, remember, we do this. We offer this service which Morgan, I need to tell you about, but we have a service called Blog Start where we will set up and optimize your WordPress blog because we agree with you completely. Your blog is the little piece of real estate that you get to own, whereas your Etsy shop, you don't own it. It's great, but you're building your business on rented land. Therefore, if for whatever reason Etsy were to shut your shop down, boom, or Etsy changes or whatever, you have the flexibility. You own your email list. You have your customers and you can transport them. And that's really valuable. Again, I think you need your own little piece of real estate. And then from that hub come all these spokes, your Instagram, your Etsy shop, your email, all your Pinterest account. So I think that it does seem intimidating, and that's why, again, we want to help you do this. So definitely either email me at Jillian@MiloTree.com or go to MiloTree.com/blogstart, and you can learn how we will help you do this and help teach you how to put up a blog post. But I love your idea where you create a product and you can create a blog post to show how best to use that product. Ideas you never thought of. You become a real person. You become somebody that people trust. I go on Etsy, I see a variety of products that all kind of look similar, and I don't know which one to buy. But if somehow you can differentiate yourself, somehow I can Google this and find you, there's something really powerful about that. You were talking about looking at products out there and seeing what, I call it your special sauce. Like, what do you add to this product that makes it extra special? Well, one thing you can add is you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like one of the most valuable things that you can add to your product. And it's so often overlooked. It's like, well, I need to have this unique fabric pattern, or I need to have this crazy, brilliant idea or whatever. But bringing that personalized element, you, into the factor, and bringing in that, that personal experience, and just the fact that you are a unique human with unique perspectives and unique background, adding that to your product automatically differentiates you. I know we sometimes try to be so corporate and just perfectly, not politically correct, but just super by the book with our, the copy that we write and the products that we create. People want personality. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've purchased from a shop because I've read their about, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I get her. Like, she gets me, and I'd want to buy from that shop. Even if another dozen shops are selling the exact same thing, she gets me. Like, I speak her language. I want to buy from her shop.
And on Etsy, there are a lot of listings from, say, other countries where people are just kind of stuffing their product onto Etsy that's made in some factory somewhere.
Unfortunately.
And that is something that I know that there was a lot of criticism when Etsy started allowing people, or allowing companies, especially companies where the quality might not be as good. So if I know I'm buying from Allison, and Allison lives in South Carolina, I get Allison, and she's got 3 kids. It's like, and she's making these by hand with her mom. I go, you know what? I get that. And I want to support Allison rather than some product, like no-name product, where maybe these photos are stolen. I want to know these are Allison's products, Allison's photos, and they might not be the most beautiful photos, but I know Allison is behind this, and I put my weight and my money behind her. And I think that it goes back to what we said at the beginning of this, being generous.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is so spot on. I couldn't have said it better myself.
And connecting. So your feeling is, you start your Etsy shop, then you contact us, we set up your blog for you, and then we help you, or you start to recognize how best to present you and your business so that it goes beyond just your product. But it's almost like you're doing a painting and you're really coloring it in so that people get this. Or maybe it's a sculpture and they start to see it in 3D. It's not just this fabric wallet or this headband. It's the person behind it. It's the message.
Brand that you're creating, the brand persona. Yep.
Absolutely. So it starts to be fleshed out. So when I'm buying the headband, it's not just a headband. It has a whole story attached to it and a connection. And I think there's something really valuable about that. And I say this, you could tell me what your thoughts are. I believe that blog posts and social media posts are really top of the funnel. And that it is when you can get somebody on your email list that you are able to move them down the funnel and talk to them about selling, like that this is something that you sell and this is something that will make your life better. And that's really where you see the most conversions.
That's where the personal connection comes in, because there's something really, I mean, for lack of a better word, there's something intimate about being able to pop into someone's personal inbox and say, hey, Jillian, I was thinking about you. I know your mornings are rough because you've got, 3 small kids at home, which you don't. But if you did, I know your mornings are rough. You've got 3 small kids at home. I hope I can help make it easier. We just dropped a new spring 2021 line collection of new headbands. We'd love to have you, check it out, kind of thing. And obviously that's a very rough version, but suddenly you're talking to them personally. You're addressing their personal challenges that they're facing and the struggles you're facing. You're validating them as a person, a real human being. And that's where that connection comes in, because you can post on social media, but it's like, hey, everyone, we just launched this collection. And it's not as personal as, hey, Jillian, hey, Mary, hey, Sarah, popping into their inbox and letting them know that you understand where they are and your products can help them get past those roadblocks they're facing.
What are the best ways you recommend Etsy sellers grow their email list? Because on Etsy, what are you allowed? Like, can I put a link to my blog? I can't capture those emails for my seller, from my customer. So how do I connect these pieces?
Yeah, that is such a juicy question. And it's one that so many people have, because Etsy's like, we've got rules. You can't do everything. And one of the most important rules that we should definitely mention is you can't just automatically add people to your email list. Across the board in email marketing, you can't do that. But especially on Etsy, even if they've purchased from you, you don't own their email address. Etsy still owns that. Like, it's the property of Etsy. It's not yours. And so we have to be kind of creative about how we build our email list if you have an Etsy shop. Now, obviously, if you've got the blog set up, it's going to be a lot easier because you've got full control over how you're getting people there. Regarding your Etsy shop, you're going to have to be a little bit more strategic. And ultimately, we're going to be sending people away from the shop to grow the email list, because there's no built-in form on Etsy to have people sign up. So what you're going to want to do is you're just going to want to essentially mention your email list everywhere and I'm sure you've talked about lead magnets and freebies with your audience before. That's a really important strategy. Even if it is something as simple as a coupon code just to get the quick and dirty version up, you're like, I don't have time to create a freebie. Okay, awesome. Just use a coupon code just to get started. It's that taking imperfect action step. Just get it started, take action, and refine it later. And so you're going to create that, and you'll probably create that over on your blog or with a landing page software, however you do it, but it's something you can very easily do on your blog as well. And then you are going to link to that basically everywhere in your Etsy shop. That's another thing. People are like, I don't want to annoy people. I'll just mention it in my announcement. If they really care, they'll find it. No, never assume that anybody can find anything. You want to give them as many opportunities to say yes as possible. You're not going to annoy anyone. Anyone you do annoy, they weren't going to be your customer anyways. Like, they were never a true fan. And so you're going to want to mention it in your shop announcement. You're going to want to mention it in your listing descriptions. You're going to want to mention it in, especially when people purchase from you. Okay, awesome. There's an automated message to the buyer that goes out as an email. Hey, make sure you grab this freebie too. Thanks for your order. And so anywhere that you can possibly think to mention it, you absolutely want to be including that in your shop. You want to have it in as many places as possible. Now, the rules that Etsy the rules that Etsy has in regards to where can you send people? Like, can you actually send people away from your site, from your Etsy shop? Is that against the rules? It's only against the rules if you are sending them away directly to a page that sells the same products on a different platform. You can send them to a blog post. You can send them to a landing page to sign up for a freebie. You can, in fact, they encourage you to send people to learn more about your business, because ultimately, like, that makes you more sales, because you're building that know, like, trust. They're like, yes, again, Allison in South Carolina, I get Allison. I've learned about her. I want to buy from Allison. And that's exactly what it is. So Etsy actually encourages that, as long as you are not linking away to a Shopify site. Like, if you sell baby headbands, you're not linking directly to your shop that sells baby headbands. They're okay with it. You can have a blog with a shop attached to it. That's fine, as long as you are not linking to the direct shop itself in the links that you provide in your Etsy shop. So
what
you
about,
have to just,
can you reach out to customers? Like, I am a big believer in doing things, especially at the beginning when you're growing, that don't scale. So if I put up 10 products, and guess what? I've now got 4 sales. Can I reach out to each one with a note thanking them, talking about how I just opened this shop? I appreciate their business. Hey, do you want to join my email list? If so,
Absolutely.
message me back your email because I'd love to stay in touch with you. Maybe I give them a coupon code, maybe I don't, but maybe because I'm Allison and I'm starting this journey, I'm inviting you to come join me on this. Like,
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
support means so much to me.
That personal connection is so important, especially in those early days when you're just trying to figure out what the heck even works. Anything that you can do to go above and beyond. Remember, you don't have to maintain this long term. You just need to kind of get started, figure out what's working for you. And then, yeah, the strategies that work, let's keep doing those. But regarding reaching out to people, absolutely. So that was something that I did with my Etsy shop, and it was critical and huge in growing my email list. Is every time somebody purchased from me, at the end of the day, so I'd get about 30 to 40 orders a day is kind of what I averaged. I just had a canned response. So it's just a copy and pasting and said, thanks so much for your order. I'm a small business. I really appreciate it. Your order goes to benefiting postpartum moms and things like that. Because that was something that was part of my unique selling proposition, my secret special sauce. I can't remember exactly what you called it. And I would have that in there. And then I would include shipping times, which is just bonus tip. Always let them know what they can expect in terms of order shipment. They'll just appreciate it. And then they're not going to message you a million times. And then I'd be like, hey, we like, I saw you like this pattern of like fabric or whatever. We also have like a free, and my lead magnet, my freebie was a nursery printables library where they could sign up to my email list, and then they could get basically all the designs I had in my fabrics. I created printables that they could hang up at their baby's nursery. And so it was just like super simple for me to do because I already had the designs. And that's another thing. Like, it doesn't have to be this crazy, amazing freebie, like that you spend hours and hours and hours on. This was stuff that I already had. And it was something that it was very easy for me to just get up and going very quickly. And I could add to it and refine it, which I did over time. And so I would just send each person a message. Hey, Sarah. And I always put in their first name. Thank you for your order. Thank you. Here's the shipping times. I've got this freebie that I think you're going to love. Go check it out over here. People would just go ahead and they would sign up, and I would easily get like 20 people signing up on my email list every single day just from that simple copy and paste thing that I was sending them.
I love that.
So it was easy, and it's the fastest way to get people that are already warm leads, right? They're interested in your product. They bought your product. Okay, that's not the end of the customer journey. It doesn't stop there. Like, if they've already bought your product, they are so much more likely to buy it again. And they're so much more easy to like convert into another customer as opposed to going and finding somebody brand new. So let's take who we've already got and continue to nurture them and build that know, trust, like, and like let them know that, hey, we appreciate you and we're going to be here and we're going to support you and offer you these, these goodies and things like that. So
if you can deliver with a really good product and a really good experience, you're the top like 5% of Etsy sellers. It's not hard to get there. So it is about, though, going that little extra bit, providing some sort of value, providing a good experience. So then they go, oh my God, I trust you. Like, I know if I buy from you again, it's going to be a good experience. I know if I give what you're selling as a gift, it's going to be a good experience. So that distrust or that feeling of like, I don't know, is this going to be good? You've already proven that you are what you say. You deliver. And all you need to do then is just deliver again and again and again. And people will be much more willing to go, oh, I know you. I like you. You're going to make me look good. I'm going to buy from you again. So I completely agree with what you're saying.
And when they have that like really positive experience, it's kind of memorable to them, then they share with their friends and they're like, oh my gosh, you just had a baby girl. I have the cutest headbands. The owner is total gem, right? I'm not talking about me, obviously. Hopefully people said that about me. But then they're like, yeah, you ought to go check out this shop. You're going to love it. Your daughter's going to look so cute in these. They refer people. And then that know, like, trust is already built up because of that friend connection referral. And so it just explodes. And just going the extra mile in those early days is so, so important to just establishing yourself as a shop and really finding your groove early on.
So Morgan, you teach women predominantly how to start and build and grow their Etsy shop. So if people want to reach out to you to learn more, where can they go? Yeah,
so I am at morgannield.com. So
spell it.
Yeah.
Okay.
JillianNield.com. And that's where you can find me. I'll be sharing I share like all sorts of strategies and tips. I actually have a podcast that I do that we turn into show notes over there as well. And it's all just about building this creative business on Etsy and beyond that supports your lifestyle, not the other way around. Because so many business owners I feel out there, they teach these amazing strategies, but they don't work if you're a mom with stay-at-home kids that are young kids that are here with you all day. And that's like one of my biggest pet peeves is I don't have time to implement this 8 hours a day marketing strategy that you've got. And so that's what I built morgannield.com all about, is helping women that don't have these normal work hours. They're doing it during the naps. They're doing it during the bedtime hustle, which is a very real thing. I built my business from 7 to 10 p.m. Like that's my jam. And that's what we're all about over at morgannield.com. Just teaching you how to build your business and teaching you how to build that Etsy shop so that you can build it in a way that supports your lifestyle as a mom first and foremost, but still gives you that creative outlet and allows you to fulfill that kind of passion that you were destined for more as well. I actually have a freebie that I wanted to mention as well. If you are like, I don't even know where to get started with marketing my Etsy shop, because marketing is totally my jam. It's something I specialize in. I could talk about forever. I mean, we've been talking about marketing on this podcast episode as well. It's called the Etsy Marketing Roadmap. And it's actually my step-by-step process for how I went from 0 to 100K in less than a year selling on Etsy, the mistakes that I recommend you avoid, and just kind of a roadmap of where you need to be placing your time at the beginning and your attention, what to focus on, what not to focus on. Just basically like the fast pass, let's get your marketing up and going and get you results as quickly as possible.
That's terrific. Morgan, really, this has been such a pleasure. I'm so glad that David found you and that you agreed to come on the show. I think that you have really demystified Etsy and have really shown why Etsy is the perfect platform to get going on, to really start experimenting and to find how to sell products on the internet, build your business and make income, real income.
Thank you so much for having me. Like, this is my passion. So many people don't realize it's even an option for them. Like it's not what normal people do. They don't sell on Etsy or they don't create these creative businesses online. And it's such a viable business model. And it's such a, one that gives you freedom and the ability to live the best version of your life that you can. And so anytime that I can talk about it, like on this podcast, I am more than happy to, because I just love sharing the possibility that you're meant for more and you can absolutely build your dream life and your dream business at the same time.
What a great message. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
I hope you guys liked this episode with Morgan. I thought it was filled with so many good strategies and tactics. My big takeaway is just to go start, get your products up and see what happens. Then iterate and learn. And please join my Facebook group. Head to Facebook, search for Blogger Genius. I just did it to make sure it works. And you will find my group called the Share and Grow Your Blog Traffic group. It is really a continuation of the podcast. I'd love you to be part of that community. It will help grow your blog. So come on over and I will see you here again next week.